Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back. It is me, once again, screaming into the void of the internet. I don't really have too much of an update into what's going on with me personally, so I kind of want to have something that I wanted to talk about. And it's mainly in relation to, I guess, the Game Awards and stuff like that. And I'm not really going to talk about, too much, in terms of, what I saw or anything, or what I'm excited for. I'm mainly just talking about this because, people were getting sick of seeing, some of the, games that were going to be released, and people started calling it out and calling the woke stuff. And then you saw this trend where people were trying to counter and go like, "Oh, I'm so sick of people saying woke, 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 anti-woke. It's just the polar opposite. You're just the same and stuff like that." And I think that's rather funny because here's the truth, man. And I'm gonna say it like this: I understand where people are coming from when they feel like, "Oh, well, that side is essentially just becoming exactly what they don't like because they won't shut up about wokeness whenever they see like an air quotes female character and stuff like that." But let me tell you something right now, okay? Let me tell you something right now and pose a question: who started it? Because I'm sure that people are gonna say, "Oh, that's some childish nonsense." No, 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 no. Who started this crap? Seriously, right? Name a single franchise that these freaking wokies have not ruined with their garbage and their dogma, right? I listen. I am not the biggest nerd. I'm not the biggest geek fan, okay? I do enjoy my occasional manga. I enjoy my occasional comic book. I enjoy video games. I love video games. I cannot think of a single franchise when DEI hires got involved that they did not freaking ruin. Okay? Even games that I'm not even the biggest fan of, okay? DEI hires got involved and they destroyed it. They say crap like, "Oh, there's no source material. We don't have anything to go off of." They don't respect the lore. They don't respect anything. They just go into the world, use it as a platform, and just completely dump on all of the canon and the lore that's in the world. So let me ask you this again: who started it? I'll tell you simply: the wokies. And please don't sit around here and tell the guys and girls. Because listen, there's plenty of girls on top of this. Because people try to make it seem like it's the whole air quotes misogyny thing. You just can't handle the female character. I'll have your stupid arse know that I love female characters, especially when they actually look good. Ivy, one of my favorite fighting game characters of all time. Not because of her being attractive. It's mainly just because of the weapon. I like that. I don't mind playing female characters when they're told well. Stellar Blade has some great female characters. Everyone loves Nier Automata for a good freaking reason. No one has a problem with female characters. We love Bayonetta. Listen, I could go on and on. Okay, but my point is this. We love female characters when they're done right, when they're done good service, when they're written well, okay? And you can write them well and still have them attractive, which is something that the Wokies don't seem to understand, for example. No, it's not that people see the female character and they get mad. It's because they see a female character, and 9 times out of 10, they look like a butch, they look like a dyke, they look super hyper masculine, as though it is wrong to see a female look feminine. Yes, guys are sick of that crap because here's what we want to know. And this is where I think is really funny because they try and come along and say, "It just proves your patriarchy and your misogyny. You just can't handle seeing the wokies." Well, listen, let me say it like this. That's not true because even back in the day, when I looked at games like Dragon's Dogma, I think her name was like Esmeralda or something like that. Like she was a freaking pirate. And she was confirmed to essentially be bisexual, and no one had a problem with that because it's kind of, a thing. Usually when pirates were involved, a lot of gay stuff and stuff was just natural, especially back in. So no one really cared about that. But it fit. It felt natural. When you see inserted characters now, and their tokenizations, and they're just screaming 24/7 about the fact that they're lesbians, fagots, trans testicles, all this bullcrap, right? When they're screaming about that 24/7, do you really think it's because they're there because they actually fit a part, as in they fit the world, or they're there because they're supposed to, tick the boxes? They have to meet the checklist because our good old DEI hires demand that there is a certain amount of a representation. And let me tell you something right now. I freaking hate representation. I don't give a rat's arse how much you want to believe that it's not fair that I don't see a certain group of people here. It's not. I don't give a rat's arse if it's fair or not. It's supposed to be history. If you don't like it, you feel free to make your own world. But that's not what these cocksuckers do. They go on established worlds. They say stuff like it doesn't have lore, it doesn't have any source material to go off of, and they just destroy the characters. I can't think of any character that these cocksuckers haven't touched that hasn't been ruined. Listen, Marvel Comics, DC, video games, and stuff like that. And it's usually, again, good old Western content. This is why people love the mangas, because at least freaking Japan respects their source material. They don't F up the characters. They don't sit around here and just allow new people that want to work here to just work here if they don't have the same vision that everyone has. They make sure that everyone's on the same freaking page. If you're going to get on board of the Dragon Ball team, you need to recognize what Dragon Ball is. You're not going to come on Dragon Ball and sit around here and say, well, Goku, I would love to pipe your arsehole, buddy. Oh, Vegeta, please pipe it. Be good, baby. That's not what we want to see. That's not what we want to see. You want to go do that, go write a freaking fanfic. And calling this out in these people's minds is apparently us going too far on the other end of the spectrum saying, oh, it's anti-woke, blah, blah, blah. Of course it freaking is. These cocksuckers have been at this for decades. Listen. Bare minimum. If it's not been decades, it's approaching that, okay? I'm going to be honest. I've noticed a massive fall off in the quality of media since 2010. Okay, I was reading comics pretty heavily back then. I was following movies and stuff like that. But I noticed, especially in 2010, 2012, right? They just started completely dumping on characters. And this is when I first got introduced to this idea that they were getting rid of a lot of the old people, right? The old people, and I don't mean old like, senior citizens. I mean old as in like people that were familiar with the books, familiar with the art, familiar with the writing. They were getting rid of that in all of these things, especially in, again, American media, right? So again, the comics, the movies, the cartoons, they were getting rid of them and hiring people based on their gender identity. So I started noticing a dramatic drop in quality. And listen, if you follow comics, if you care about comics, go look at the stuff before 2010, right? And then after. Look at the drop in quality. Look at the drop in quality in just in terms of the writing, the way that the characters are. It doesn't even feel like they start respecting the characters anymore. I look at new comics occasionally, right? On the high seas, because you're out of your mind if you think I'm supporting these cocksuckers, right? And it's just a complete dumpster fire of the characters. They don't care about the characters. They just like making fun of them. For example, Spider-Man, right? Spider-Man. I love Spider-Man. One of my favorite heroes. In one of these recent runs in the comics, Mary Jane cucked him. And they have him, like, going around here like a lunatic because he's so, air quotes, obsessed with the fact that Mary Jane doesn't like him anymore. Let me ask you guys something right now. Like, if you actually know about comics, does that sound like something that Peter Parker would do? Does it sound like he would be absolutely obsessed if Mary Jane just ended things? Listen, I do know that, yeah, he'd be heartbroken, considering, like, his character. But considering all the tail that Peter can get, do you genuinely think that this bastard is going to sit around here and just cry and cry and cry and be obsessed with trying to, like, again, kill her new boyfriend or whatever to try and, like, show up Peter? As well as the fact that they hyper-masculinized Mary Jane. It wasn't nice that she looked, pretty and attractive. No, we gotta, do the standard operating procedure, make her look like a freaking man for some reason. Good old She-Hulk, yeah. I'm sure you guys can know, like, especially if you followed a little bit of the Immortal Hulk run. For some reason, they made She-Hulk look like... They made her look more masculine than Hulk is as the Hulk. Like, she had a freaking stronger jawline than him. It's just complete stupidity. It's complete stupidity. And these cocksuckers have the gall to get mad at us for saying, I've had enough. No, I won't take this crap anymore. I don't care about your representation. I don't care about your little politics. I don't care about your your gender identity crisis nonsense. I don't care. I don't give a rat's arse. That's not why I'm reading this book. I despise that these cocksuckers want to so-called call themselves writing a story, and then they try and force me to see the world through one perspective, theirs. This is what these cunts don't understand. When we were growing up, we got books, we got literature, we got comics, we got movies and stuff like that gave us perspectives. They didn't give us the perspective. They gave you perspectives, and you were allowed to come with your own conclusions. Star Wars is a prime example. At a glance, you might just think, okay, the Jedi are the good guys, the Sith are the bad guys. You break it down, you get into the world, you look at the lore, and you realize it's a lot more gray than black and white. A lot more gray, right? Avatar, Last Airbender. We don't talk about horror, okay? Just Avatar, right? You look at Avatar. Look at what they were showing with Avatar. They gave you the idea that, okay, the Fire Nation, is imperialism and they're bad. But they didn't. But then they would show you that, hey, listen, just because they were citizens of the Fire Nation, that didn't mean that they were okay with what the military and the government were doing. They weren't okay with that. They gave you perspective and allowed you to come to your own conclusions. This modern writing, especially in the West, these cunts, again, just feel like you're supposed to have one opinion alone, and if you feel differently, then you're obviously some kind of bigot or phobe. No. We need to continue to just tell these people, listen, you could go F yourself. Listen, no. If you care so strongly about making these medias, into your little soap operas and your little soap boxes, make them yourself. Get away from the established material. Get away from the source material. When you have cunts that get hired on their gender identity, and then they have the gall to say, oh, there is no source material. Looking at you, you freaking slut. Looking at you. The cunt who destroyed Star Wars and had the gall to say that novels didn't exist, comics didn't exist, movies didn't exist, animated series didn't exist, and we had to all go from scratch. These are the people we're talking about. No, I am not going to stop telling these cunts to stay away. This right here is why I don't trust Western stuff anymore, man. This is why. If I want to play video games, all of the video games I have, right? All the video games I got now, they just straight up come out of Japan. Like, just being real. Kingdom Hearts, freaking Elden Ring, like Dark Souls. Listen, I am playing, for the most part, stuff that comes out of Japan. There are not many American companies that I want to support. And even if I did want to support them at one point, I have to question if it's worth supporting them now. I have to question it. Why do I have to question it? Simple. Because at the end of the day, these days, you never know. You never know. Okay, this looks good now. But then I see a character that doesn't belong here. Then I have to ask, are they going to tell the story through this character, being here by, in a unique manner? Maybe he washed ashore or something like that. Or is it going to be, again, a tokenization? Are you throwing a character here to, again, check the boxes? It's usually the latter rather than the former. Listen, I'm sure that you can do this stuff in a good manner, okay? You can have diversity, because I don't give a rat's arse about females and minorities and all this stuff when it's done the correct way. If I'm in a fantasy world, yes, I would usually prefer to see different races and different species and stuff like that. I would. I don't have a problem when I see different races in, say, something like the freaking Elder Scrolls or a fantasy game. It makes sense, right? But if I'm looking at something that is supposed to be on Earth, that is supposed to take place in history, and then I all of a sudden see these instances where some cocksucker is going to sit around here and tell me, right? You're going to tell me that, like, some inexperienced person who's, like, I don't know, like, freaking 4'2", a chick, because why not, is going to outmuscle, like, a guy who's 6'3". Yes, I have a massive problem with that. I have a massive problem with that. Especially when it's supposed to, air quotes, be set in, like, some kind of grounded society. A grounded society. I have a massive problem with that. And it's not because of their gender, it's because you know why they're there. You know why they're there. Good old diversity. And yes, we're sick of it. I find it very funny that we were told to shut up and just deal with seeing them. And now that we're telling them, listen, we're sick of it, they're still just trying to tell us to, like, oh, just be the bigger person, get over yourself. And it's interesting, you didn't say not one word to these cocksuckers when they were ruining the source material. You didn't say not one word. Because what I've realized now is you just got some people that are just such freaking fence sitters, such cocksuckers, right? That they're going to sit there and no matter what, they're just going to stay right on the fence. They'll stay right on the fence. They'll watch their media get destroyed and still act like, okay, well, I can still have fun with it, guys. But you could have a lot more fun if the freaking devs behind it liked the people who they were making games for, not hated them. The devs behind a lot of the games that you are playing that are mainly targeted for men, The main target audience. Don't give a rat's arse. This is the first rule of business. You have to have a target audience. I don't care if someone feels like that's not true. You're not supposed to hate your target audience. That's who you get your freaking money from. When the devs hate you, yeah, you're not going to make good freaking products. I don't know why that's hard to understand for people. All people are doing now is addressing the nonsense that is the modern media age. Because it's not just video games. It's not just, comics or movies. It's everything. This is why I do not trust Western entertainment. I don't. I can look at the freaking material. For example, Invincible. People like Invincible, right? People like Invincible. Invincible's solid. I respect the TV show for at least introducing me to the comic, but you want to know what I look at more? I look at the comic more. Because when I look at the freaking show, it's a freaking tokenization. All these characters get swapped around, race swapped, sexuality swapped. Not because of any reason other than, again, diversity and inclusion. It's disrespectful to the source material. I want source material to be respected. Again, if you want to do these things, make your own. But you know that you won't get any attention. So you have to try and siphon what attention you can by saying, oh, this is still Star Wars. This is still DC Comics. This is still Marvel. It's not. It's a freaking perversion of it. Because you cocksuckers don't care about the characters, you don't care about lore, you don't care about the canon. You just care about your soap opera and your soapbox and telling us that we're wrong and we're toxic men because we don't like your worldview. That's what it's about. And people have had enough. And so, yes, you might see people that are going to be on the opposite perspective and get a bit extreme the moment they see females. But again, can you blame them? They've been shoveling this crap down our throats for years. How are you supposed to know when the character is actually well written? Or just, again, a tokenization? Because most of the time it's a tokenization. Period. They're making people intentionally look ugly, piss poor writing, and they just tell you, oh, go ahead and eat that up. Delicious. If you don't like The Last Jedi, it's because patriarchy. Even though, again, one of the main heads behind it had the gall to say stuff like, no source material. But I guess, like our side, we clearly just are talking out of our arses and we just don't like women and it's just all that, right? Yeah, sure, whatever. I'm going to go ahead and conclude it here because I get very irritated talking about stuff like this. Because again, I'm pretty passionate about certain things like comics and stuff like that. Not super, super passionate, but pretty passionate. I've met a lot of cool people, had a lot of memories with family watching those movies and stuff like that. And so it was pretty hard, for the most part, to watch them get destroyed and stuff like that, And right now, video games are pretty much approaching that, Video games have been kind of slower, I've noticed, in terms of their destruction. But it's happening, especially in the Western side. That's why I don't, again, buy any Western game for the most part. I don't think it's worth it. I'm not going to freaking support people that hate me, I'm not going to support them. But I'm going to go ahead and conclude it here. Let me know your thoughts on this. Do you think that apparently there's the opposite where it's just too much, air quotes, anti-woke? Or do you think that I have a point? Because I would love to hear your opinion, because I'm not going to say I'm going to debate anyone, but I would love to hear why people who told us to shut up during a time where we were seeing them, and it was a lot more peaceful back then. Listen, people weren't just saying, hey, listen, I don't want to see the character because she's female. They were like, hey, why is this character, behaving like this? Why are they, looking ugly? Why are they looking like a freaking colored-haired, standard freaking university student? And what were you told? Go F yourself. Patriarchy, blah, 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 blah. We were trying to criticize it before it got out of hand. Now it's gotten out of hand. People take the more extreme measure, and they just start saying, hey, listen, if I see, air quotes minority, if I see a female, then I'm just going to automatically assume. But again, you're blaming them when you refuse to allow them to have any criticism to stop it from getting to the point to begin with. You didn't try and meet with your consumers on some kind of middle ground. You just kept shoveling it down your throat and saying, if you don't like it, you're a bigot, you're a bastard. You're just saying. But I'm going to go ahead and conclude this here. Hope you guys enjoyed. I would like to hear some feedback on this if you do care about this stuff. And if not, whatever. But hope you all enjoyed. God bless. I'll see you next time.